Okay, I'm passing around the sheet. It expressed that except for a few groups, the other groups there got to do quite a bit of work to catch up. Right? And hopefully you did. Passing around the sheet, I said I'll be available pretty much the entire day. If you don't meet me today, I'm not going to meet you. There are some groups that absolutely have to meet me. I'm hoping every group will sign up. And I want all the members of the group to meet me unless there's an emergency. There are in at least one or two groups, there are students who are ill. That's fine. But otherwise, there's no reason no excuse to not meet. And I want all of you to meet because you have to have this discussion as a group. I've given approximate times that each group will take. We had requested meeting me at 1 o'clock. I obviously teach until 11:30, the other class, and then I had requested the accounting conference room. They have something going on until 12:45, so that room will be available. I'll be there from after 12:45. So I want you to give me an approximate. So it's given there are certain groups like group 4, 5, 7, 6 is in pretty good shape, but there are some issues we have to discuss. So the groups that are in good shape, I've said estimated time of meeting would be 15 minutes. The other groups I'm estimating between 20 to 30 minutes. So that's, as I said, this is the very last time I'm willing to meet if you're not committing to do it. And I've already indicated to some of you if groups are not in good, and projects are not in good shape. If it's not, and you don't fix it, you will fail the course. I've told this multiple times. So at this point, there's it's your choice to fail the course. There's nothing more I can do. And honestly, why should I keep making myself available? You're not going to come. You should show commitment. And this is a part of our MIS program is systems thinking. Right? So, and it's not only just, you can use fancy words, cybersecurity, data analytics, big data. What does it all boil down to? Understanding systems, problem solving, using it with different tools. If you can't do it, then you are not doing systems work, you're doing something else. It's about understanding how different components work together. And honestly, you can even take away technology and it's still, you're looking at how systems interact. So the issue is, I'm passing this around so you can indicate some time. Obviously, passing from the front of the room, so you can indicate it against the group. And I'm collected at the end of the class. And I told you that I'll be available today, so I'm assuming it's not a surprise to you. Okay. There are groups 1 through 15, except yes. Okay, so I don't know if you are aware of the superstition with 13, right? There are buildings, I know that in New York when I used to live there, there were certain buildings which didn't have the 13th floor, So we are following the tradition. We don't have a 13, group number 13. Well, it's just that I thought it was some levity, maybe it's not. Anyway, so it's Dane Lumen is 13, but he meets with me independently. So that's why you won't find a 13 there. Anyways, hopefully I get to see most of you, however reluctantly. So let's get back to discussion of our individual project. There are a couple of things that I wanted to bring in. Okay, as I said, when meeting, my expectation is that you've done significant work from when I discussed it on Thursday with you. And if you're having questions, I'm also expecting you to come with specific questions on what you're not clear about or if there are missing pieces. Anyways, let me get to where we were in the lost clause. I'll probably be there until, well, 8, 9 o'clock, depending upon when the lost group is able to meet. I will take breaks for whatever lunch, dinner, and so on. So between times that somebody's showing up. Again, it's actually if there might be others other than me to discuss as well. As I said, up to 12:45, I'll be in my office. After that, I'll be in the conference room, and actually it's better in the conference room because I could project it onto the screen and you could discuss it from there. Okay, what we were trying to discuss, or we were discussing, most of lost clause was registration through the UI, which involved, which essentially a lot of it involved modifying the existing controller view. As well as a view model. So that was, I will revisit it, and there's at least one piece that we need to add on to. The other thing that I wanted to discuss was how you could have a search and a result in the same view. And then third piece was in terms of the unit testing. We have looked at three components, three of the four CRUD. The last that we have not looked at is delete. So I'll try to do that, if not today, by next class. And also discuss a little bit of navigation. So I'll put it up on the notepad so I can have a list here. And okay, the first one is complete user registration. And this introduces some JavaScript. And the second is search and result on same view. The third is navigation, and this is there have been a few groups that have asked about one-to-many navigation, so I'll discuss it a little bit. Maybe I'll actually do that second instead of third. This is one-to-many and many-to-many, and there are a couple of concepts. Whenever you want to bring in an associated class, what do you do with whenever it is, let's say, course offering and the associated course? What method do you use? So you say course offering dot include. Okay, so and then the lambda expression c dot to a course. But what about if you want to include something that is not directly off of course offering, like for example, the department to which the course belongs? Yeah. So the issue is you cannot do that directly. There is another operator that we'll discuss, and there is okay, Austin. So that's Jacob and Skylar. Austin had asked that question. Do you know the answer to that? Well, I responded to him. He should have. Well, you should have, as a group, figured it out. Pardon? Okay, you should have discussed it as a group. That's why I want you to, when you're meeting me, you meet as a group, because I don't want it to be an individual understanding. Okay. So the fourth one is unit testing with the delete operation. And, well, I'll just put a list, so this will go on at least until Thursday, maybe into next week, but I'll add this on. One of the things that several of our projects have used is well, at least to get to explore, is some kind of payment mechanism, and I need to figure out which one is the easiest way, like PayPal or something, to connect to. I know that some groups, like the high school soccer group, like you said, there is a payment associated. So is there any other group exploring payment options? It's a lot of commercial applications obviously require, so I will try to discuss this. As I said, the API, that's, I think, they consider, there are two I think that are really considered easier to use. One is PayPal. The other is, what's it called? Google Pay? I forget now what it's called. But anyways, what's the expansion for an API? Does anyone know what API expands to? Yeah, it's you should be very familiar with this because if you are interviewing application programming interface, it's very simple. It's basically the method signature because you wouldn't see the method itself. You're using something that's being set up for you to use. So that's something that we'll discuss. And then as I'm going through projects, I need to figure out, well, we will discuss cleaning up the UI, like instead of the generic front page, change it to something that's more customized. So these are some things to explore. Are there any other functionalities that specific groups are exploring? Yes, no? Yeah? Yeah. Yeah, so we will discuss, it might involve JavaScript. I will be discussing some of it today. Let me just keep track of time. So 8:50, April 2. Okay. Okay, so let's go through this. Some of these, the JavaScript, I'll explain. If you really want to get deep into it, you have to spend more time on it. We are going to have sort of an introduction to it, JavaScript as well as jQuery. So I'm combining the two for using jQuery functions in our JavaScript method. So I'll go through that so that we come up with a functionality. Jacob asked, how do you sort of show one, and then you're initially showing one function, one button, and then you hide it based off of what the user does. So there's one functionality we'll discuss today, which is along those lines. So let's see. This is in the view. So we use the account controller, and in account controller, the two methods that, and again, my expectation is that you're applying this to your project, right? Whatever I'm asking, whatever we are discussing is relevant to your project. So, so how many of you have this now functioning fully, this registering a user for a particular role, and then after registering the user for a particular role, what else are we doing in this functionality here? What is this doing? Sending an email confirmation to whatever email the user has used, and this is right here in this service clause. And the one question that Nick Higgins had was, you said you were getting an error. Okay. Okay, you still, is it fixed or you still have it? Okay. Okay, that's fine. And we are using this Gmail SMTP server. You had said it was a SMTP, correct? Okay. Okay. Yeah, how many of you have it working fully? Most of you? Okay. The additional piece is if you want to, one thing, let me see if I can get to my SQL Server. One of the things that you could do, if once my SQL Server opens up, I can do this. Okay, I'll show it to you as soon as that opens up. But there is an option where you can check why do we do that email confirmation? What's the main purpose of it? Yeah.
I would say just for like tell the user that
okay, the account is being created using that particular email. What's another reason? Yeah.
make sure that the email is actually listing that when you use this and that it's owner.
Okay, it's not just a random email that somebody is setting or a non-existing email. People just creating or some like a bot creating an account to just whatever purpose. So this will force whoever created the account to come through it to validate. So at least there's some level of confirmation that it is that particular user. And the one thing that you can do to as a security measure is go into your, if you look at the database security model, let's see, I think user login or users, let's see, columns. Okay, so do you see this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? The sixth column is, what does it say? Email confirmed, true or false. So if you go in and let's see if I did a select all from okay, so what does this tell you here?
That's only one.
Only one has been confirmed, and who is that user who has been confirmed? Oh, that's okay, it's me, but why was it that was the only one that's confirmed? The other ones are through the DB initialize, where it didn't count. Of course, I could have, in initializing, set this property to true. Now, one thing that you can do is, if you want to impose that that security, you can go to your startup and say, remember where we set the password requirements, right, in options? So you could go into options and say, options dot there is a sign-in requirement, and if you said require confirmed email, if you set it to true, then you would be allowed to log in only if you're confirmed. So these are so there's a lot of security measures or security functionalities that the .NET security model gives. So if you those of you who claim to be interested in security should explore and maybe discuss some of this with us. But it's a way of going from just the theory of security to actually practicing it or implementing. Okay, so if I impose this, then I could only log in for this user. So I'm going to comment this out, and you could, and as you went through it, you could see that you could also try to do that with a phone number as well. So if you want to explore those things, you can do so. So I'll just, as I said, I'll comment this out so that I can use the other accounts. Otherwise, I won't be able to use it. But for you, if you're like, there are some of you who are wanting to release it to actual practice or users, then you might want to consider having this. Okay, let me go to the JavaScript part, which again, I'm no expert in JavaScript. The UI is my weakest area. Has anyone explored JavaScript? Okay, Paul, if I make mistakes, will you be able to correct me? Well, so if you raise your hand, you should be able to. Okay. Anyways, so then if I make mistakes, then nobody will know anyways. So, okay. I could have as well claimed I'm an expert, I guess. Well, that's the. By the way, that's what you should do if you want to advance in life. If you shouldn't be too honest or shouldn't have a conscience. Anyways, coming back to let's see, where is my, I'm looking for my view. The view that I want is register, okay? And so the piece that I'm adding in here is I want the, there are two drop-down lists that we have, okay? One drop-down list is for user role. The second drop-down list is for department, okay? And by the way, this validation, I'm still not entirely sure. What is the validation? Well, this is, the user role has to be selected. The department is optional. I'll actually remove that. So this, forcing this validation, in other cases, it's easy. Like, how does this get implemented or required? Yeah, we set it up, remember, with the view model. Where is my view model? Okay, right here, register view model. Do you understand what the purpose of a view model is? Yes, no?
It's the model and the view in the same thing.
It is created just for the purpose of the view, not for storing data. It's not a data repository. So by saying it's required, you're basically setting, that's where the constraint gets imposed. So when we say validation, based off of just saying required here, it will, if the user doesn't give a value, it will say, so if I were to run this debug, start without debugging. And if I'm registering a user or registering as a user, if I try to, once this starts up, we can show this to you.
Can you do the validation of the view model? Like, can you do the validation of
You can do it with the view itself. I mean, not with, well, you can do it, you can set these annotations on the model itself. But if you're just wanting to do it on the view, then you'd have to write a fair amount of JavaScript referring jQuery, which becomes it becomes much more messy. This is an easier option. Okay, for whatever reason, this is still show it. Does anyone know why this? I think most of you said you don't get this error. I have to keep switching between the web server to see. On this one, okay. I'll have to check it out and see, because obviously when I run it the second time, most occasions it shows up. So let me go into what I was saying. So if I click on, so I went into register and I clicked on the register button, what happened? It gives me the list of all the required fields. So that's why this is helpful. Now, coming to what I want to accomplish with JavaScript is this. So I don't want to show the department until this is required only if the user role chosen is department chair, right? So what I want to do is make this group, this drop-down list, invisible or hidden until I choose this. So if I choose department chair, then I'll activate it. So Jacob, you could try to use that logic to say, okay, is this done? If it's done, I'll switch it to another view. Okay, so let's try to go through this. These are the three components. One is the view model. The second is the method on the controller. The third is the view itself. And JavaScript is on the view itself. And we said we are going to reference the JavaScript, the jQuery library, which was one of the things that's become popular now is to reference pre-built libraries like jQuery, Bootstrap. There are others as well. But so instead of writing everything from scratch, we are basically saying we are going to reference this jQuery library, and the source is this URL where the library is hosted. I think that it is hosted in multiple places, I believe. This being one of them. And this min stands for minified, to make it, to compress it so that it doesn't take up bandwidth. Okay, so we have that, and now, so the entire, one thing that you should be aware of is there is this section for scripts in the view that's at the bottom of the file or the view page. And the first thing is the validation that occurs, which is using a pre-built script, so we are not even touching that. This is what tells you that all of this is through this pre-built validation script. We are going to write this for that specific customization of the drop-down. Okay, so one of the things that you will see used quite a lot in JavaScript is this $, which is to reference usually variables or objects. So in this case, we are going to reference the document object. In this case, the document being the web page. So we want to get access to that and do something on that. So I'm going to say apply. So when the document is ready for after it's loaded, we want to do something, and the something is this function that we are creating. So it uses the keyword function with a parameter e, and this parameter is what I wasn't entirely able to figure out whether it is required. Does anyone know why this parameter is being set? I need to explore this. So this parameter, I didn't use it at all. But it was suggested in the template that I got. So I'm putting that in. Afterwards, maybe we can experiment to see if we can get rid of that. But I'll leave it in for now. And then this goes all the way down. So this has to be there. And then this is a semicolon at the end, just like in C#. I'm going to open, close curly braces. And it uses auto format, which seems to prefer this formatting. So it opens up the curly brace at the end of the first line and closes it at the beginning of another line. I personally like to use it at the beginning of each. So in C#, but this forces it, so I'll keep it as is. It's just the formatting. It's exact. So it's exactly the same as doing this. But when you save it, I think it automatically try to do anything. Let's see, rebuild. Okay, it keeps it here. Okay. Because when I was trying to move some things like this outer one, when I saved it, it tried to move it back. Okay, it didn't. Okay. So I'll try to keep it with this format so that it's the familiar format that we use. Okay, so this ready method here is getting closed here. Okay, all the way up there. Okay. Let me then write the code that's inside. We are going to create a variable. This is the thing with JavaScript is it's not C# is a type safe language in that you have to and it's also it's JavaScript. The reason it has script at the end of it is a scripting language, which means that there is no compiler to catch it, pre-catch it. So if you make a syntax error, when does it get caught? When you run it, so it doesn't get caught prior. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So it offers flexibility that you don't have to say what's the data type. You don't have to say it's an int or a string or whatever else. Okay, now this user role, I want to get at the user role. Where is my user role object? Right here. Okay, so my user role object is called user role. Okay, so I'm using lowercase u for this variable.
So I need to capture it, and the way you capture it, again, using the $, and within these parentheses, I need to reference this particular object. And the way you reference an object in a web page, it's an identifier. So I'm using single quotes, and then I need to reference this object here. And the way you reference it is using in HTML, it's using this $. So I'll say $, user role, and you have to give the exact name that this is identified by. Okay. So as far as strings are concerned, with JavaScript, you can use either single quotes or double quotes, but I'm going to use single quotes within the function consistently, okay, because I used the double quotes outside of it. Okay, so I'm going to specify that this variable will capture whatever is selected in the drop-down here. Does that make sense? Okay, so what values could user role have? It could have either choose, department chair, or coordinator. Okay, so those are the 3 values, and each statement you have to end it with a semicolon here. Okay, now what I want to do is, initially, do I want this to show or to be hidden? I want this to be hidden, right? Now I want this entire group to be hidden. So if you want the entire group to be hidden, what actually has an identifier is this object here, this drop-down list. So I want to give a name for the entire group, and the way so that what do we want to do? We want to take this entire element. When I say the entire element, I don't want to just hide this alone, right? The drop. I also want to hide this label here. So what constitutes both put together? It's this group here. So I need to give, since this group, this div doesn't have any identifier, I need to give it an identifier, and I'm going to call it department group. Okay. So now I'll go down into my JavaScript, and I'm going to say, what am I going to say? I want to hide this. So what did we do with user role? How did we pick out that particular element? So we started with this $. So anything that pertains to the web page, start with the $, go into it, and then say single quotes pound, what's it? Department. What did we call the ID? The department group. This is what we call the entire group itself. So that's the entire group, department group. And what do we want to do to this department group initially? Hide it. So we apply the hide method. And so I believe this method is coming from using jQuery. So what we want to do next is, so we initially want to hide it. What do we want to do? When do we want to show this? So if this changes to use when this, where is this? The user role changes. Now, not only do we want it to, not only do we need to know that it has changed, well, not only do we need to get the value, but we need to know when the change occurs, right? So, and this is where you can say, well, this user role object, which is a drop-down list, what am I looking for? I'm looking to see whether it has changed. And when it has changed, what do I want to do? I want this, create this action. And whenever I want to create an action based off of some trigger, that becomes its own function. Okay, so this doesn't have parameters. So this is where I was, as I said, if somebody, maybe I'll give it so somebody to figure out what's the purpose of the C, and I don't know the answer to that. Okay, so this doesn't have a parameter E. Okay, so, but I need to bring this all the way down. And when I'm creating a function, what do I need to do? I need to have a body of that function. Right, and the convention is to close out, bring this up here, and this closes it. So, okay. Okay, so what do we want to do inside? What's the action we want to do? We want to check the value, and the way you check the value is, so we are acting on this object, right? User role. In C#, how do you reference? So I'll use the £, and then we have to reference that particular object. But we already have access to that object. So since we are acting on this object, how do you reference an object that you already have access to? Have you seen this keyword? Yes, no? Okay, this reference to the object you're currently having access to. So we are, what do we want on that? So there is a value method associated with each object. And what is the value we are checking for? Department chair, okay? So if this condition is true, what do we want to do? I want to show, and what do I want to show? This object, single quote, £, department group, and I want to show this entire group. So the show method. So this will show the entire label with the drop-down list based off of whether the user role selected was department here. Okay. Let me just clean this up for formatting so that you can see. So the first tag was to reference the jQuery library. The second script tag is to say we are creating a JavaScript method. We want to access the document, which after it gets rendered, we want to basically get access to two of the objects, one being the user role drop-down list, the second one being the entire department group. And based off of values in user role, we either show it or hide it. Okay. So this is it. So now you know JavaScript. Okay, so anyway, so I'm going to run this now to see. Yeah. I think because it allows me to, well, let me be consistent and say it allows you to use either single or double quotes for strings. As far as I know, none. It's just I'm trying to use it consistently. So that's. Okay, it works for me. That's all right. Okay, so are you okay? Somebody wants to leave. Okay. Anyways, so coming back to this, if I switch it back to coordinator, what is the problem here? Yeah, so if we are having department chair, well, it's but if we went back to something other than department chair, we have to hide it. So what do you need to do?
Say else, and then we check for change doesn't equal.
Okay, so if the change occurs and the change is for anything other than department chair, what do we do? Okay, so you can see by default it puts this, I'll just use this, and then say, method. Okay, I'm just saving it, and let's see if I can just go back without rerunning. Register. Okay, so now if I choose, okay, this works now, right? So Jacob, you said you have two buttons. Now check, what is it? Is it check in and check out? What did you call it? Okay. Okay, so you want the clock. Say if they've already clocked in, you only will have the clock out option. Okay. I don't know if you can apply this or not. You'll have to explore. Okay, is it functioning now for everyone? Okay. There are, obviously you have to get familiar with, but at least my objective was to get you started. And yeah. For which one? Else? Well, I'm not going to scroll down. I'm going to ask you to figure it out. Why do I go? What are you doing here? Is it something entirely different? You're just taking this. The reason I'm doing it is I want you to think about it, right? So what does this else do? How many of you understand it? Why am I, okay, David, why am I asking you to do it rather than just show that code? Okay, so what is involved there? What is the functionality that you're implementing there? What was and was not happening for us to say we needed this else? Even if you did, obviously you've not explored JavaScript, but based on the functionality and based on knowing programming principles, you can apply it. And this is why I keep saying, if you understand concepts and what you want to accomplish, you can sort of figure things out. So, yeah, Brody, you were saying?
If you're saying if they are in a role department chair, then you shade the department.
Okay.
But if not, anything else, you don't shade the department.
So remember that, and this is to, well, both David and I guess who else was I pointing out to? Justin. The issue is we initially hit the department group, and then we said if the department chair was selected in the drop down, the department group will show. But what was not happening was, let's say they selected department chair first, and then they switch to coordinator or something else, then it was not disappearing, right? So that's why we had to bring in this else. Okay, so any other questions on this? Hopefully you will explore and implement some functionality, anything to control the UI objects. So the main concepts here that you need to be aware of, the actual coding itself is not, it's fairly similar to C#. What are the main things you need to be, what are the main principles or concepts that you need to implement JavaScript? What's the main thing that we needed? Something to identify the object on the web page. So some identifier. If it doesn't already have an identifier like user role, you have to create the identifier using the ID. And then once you have that, then that particular, so this $sign references anything that's on the web page. This is the entire document, and this is some particular object that's on the document that you want to get access to. I think that's about it. Okay. I'll see if I can come up with some other functionalities and examples of JavaScript. The other piece that I wanted to discuss, the other two pieces, well, I don't think I'll get to all of them. Which one do I want to do? Search and result on same view, navigation. Okay, so let's look at some navigation involving course offering. So let's say I wanted course offering, going to course, and then from course to department, because each course offering is associated with how many courses. So each course offering goes to one course. Each course goes to multiple course offerings. Is course offering associated with department? So course offering goes to course, but course offering doesn't go directly to the department that offers that course offering. So what connects to the department? It's the course in the middle. So course offering, course, department. That's the connection association. So let's see how we can connect the three together. Obviously, there is the concept of going from the one side to the many side, and in this case, it's course offering is one, course is many. Each course is associated with one department. Each department has many courses, so it's one to many, one to many. So how do we navigate this? And I'll show you in the course offerings controller, because we are starting from course offering. I don't know if we have some pre-existing method here that I can use. If not, I'll just say, okay, I'll just create this as I'll call this navigation or something. Okay, public, I'll say action result. This is for, I'll just call it navigation test. Okay, and I'm going to return a view. Basically, I want to display a course offering with its associated course and the associated department. The way I do it is database, course offerings is where I start, and we have looked previously at include, right? So we can say include lambda expression. This is course offering, so I'll say CO dot course. Right. So and when you're having a long notation here, a long statement, you can actually break this up with the dot on the next line. Now, if I want to go to department, if I said include and CO dot, I cannot see departments, right? So, did anyone figure out what you need to do? Yeah. Well, you could try to do that, but and then bring this in. But there is another alternate that's there. So you could either do that, or you can use then include. And when you say then include, and if I just said CO dot, what's showing up is not referring to. Okay, I'll have to ask somebody else. Okay, let me ask Haley. What is happening here? What is it referring to? I use CO dot. What is showing up here? Is it course offering? What is showing up? What clause is it being referred to? Pardon? Okay. How do you know it's course? Based on if I say CO, is it referring to course offering? So based off of the properties that are showing up, course number, course name, these are all properties of course, right? So it's basically off of whatever we have here. Now, whether we call it, even though we are using CO, it's not really referring to course offering. It's really referring to course. And the reason it's referring to course is when we say then include, it's not referring to this, but to whatever has been included. And so you can sort of go in multiple levels to keep adding in. So if I now wanted to bring in department, you can do that. And if I continued on and then said, then include, and if I did this, C dot, is this C referring to course? What's it referring to? It's referring to the department, so you can keep going down multiple levels. Okay, and then if I go back here and say dot include, so obviously I wouldn't want to call this C now. What would you call this? D. Okay, and then if I say, so let's see what this is referring to here. What is this include now referring to? It's all the way back to course offering. How do we know it's course offering? All the properties that are showing up. So what would you call this here? Okay, CO. So this is the navigation sequence that, as I said, had briefly discussed it in email with Austin. So Jacob and Skylar, you understand this? Yes? Okay. So I'll leave it with this, and let me, so if you were to send it through a view, you would have to create a list and then navigate through. I'm not going to do all of that. I'll just say list, whatever, navigation. So what would you have to do? This is a list of what? Where did we start? Okay, it's a list of course offerings. And then why does this complain here? I have to use to list course offering. Okay, so I need, and as I said, if you break this up and stuff, it being a long statement, this actually makes it more readable. And anytime you're sending something to a view, what should you do? Add it as a parameter to send over. Okay, so, and then you can create the view to actually test out. So for those of you who are wanting to have data from multiple clauses to be included, this is one way of going across. And the other concept that I want you to be aware of, so if you have a one-to-many association, we are navigating, this navigation is going from the one side to the many side, right? So how do you go in the other direction? Do you remember what we did? In course, we created a list of course offerings. So those are fundamental concepts we want you to be comfortable for navigation. Okay, so that takes care of these two.
So,
yeah.
For the course list, how do we call on it?
Well, the course list is a property, so you won't be able to, remember this is coming from the database, right? So the database doesn't know anything about the course list.
Yeah.
You'll have to, that course list, to get it in the view. So if you have the view, so if you get a list here, so you could get access to a list over here, but if you get access to the list here,
We'll only show the name of the list.
Yeah.
Not show the things beside it.
yeah, you would, you could send it over, I'm assuming, to the view, just the list alone. If you capture it, let's see if we can do that. So if I went from database dot course, here's my database dot courses, is it? Dot course. I won't be able to get the course list here. It's only under each course. So if I were to find a particular course, let's say I have an ID, and I send that ID in, what's the result of this? This is finding one particular course object. Okay, so I can say on the left side it is, and from this, what could I do? Course dot course offerings. And so you can try to see if you can send over, so this is, let's see, like course offering, a list of course offering. Okay, so you could potentially find this and then send it over to a view to navigate and so on. Okay, so this is, as I said, I'm not looking at any particular functionality here. And I hard-coded this, but if you're finding a value, it means that you have to send it in as a parameter over here. So you would have to have something like in ID, and you would send this over here. Okay. Those are some navigation principles that you need to be aware of. You have about 3 minutes left. The other concept that I really want to discuss is this, which I will do next class, where you can search and display the result on the same view. Okay. So again, I want you to let me know what are the functionalities that you're exploring on your project, because from now on, whatever I discuss will be based off of what you could potentially use on your projects. That's it. Any questions? So you know all this, right? So when you come and meet me, I'm expecting to, so for Emily, Stephen, you figured out how to navigate so reducing that number of copies that are going out. You've not yet? Okay. Well, when you come, obviously, I want to see you discuss that. Okay, I'll stop now and I'll collect the sheet. And whether you like it or not, I guess you're going to see me again today. So anyways, so I think most of you have signed up for, okay, yeah, a couple of you are at 11:30, 11:45. You'll have to meet me in my office. The others, I'll be in the accounting conference room. Pardon? From 12:45 onward.
First time I was waiting for Andrew to reply, but
yeah, where is? Okay.
It's 7:30 too late.
That's fine.
I went and did the price check email. I'm still getting, I'm getting, it says like the machine actually rejected. So Mac emails work now. So when we use your email, if it's my email, so it's still rejected. I'm thinking it's on my machine that's rejecting it.
Okay. One thing is to run it on
I'll do it on my lab later this week.
Yeah.
Or on a different machine to see if that's the issue.
But that's actually, that would be interesting to see what setting on that would, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So is it sending the email out? No, it's not even sending
It gives the throw exception, but says the machine actually rejected it.
Okay, so the server is on your machine and it's trying to send it, so it's trying to access the SMTP server through Google. So it's in that communication something is breaking down.
Yeah, I think so.
And maybe this is where you used to use Wireshark. I'm wondering if that communication will show up. Will it show up there on Wireshark?
It should, but the hard part is just catching that communication.
Okay, how much data will be there in Wireshark?
Every
capture for a second, it'll be a lot.
Yeah, every
So can you put
So
some?
you can still take down that and the key packets is what it will be.
yeah.
Try to find it that way.
Okay.
Actually, it might be just a normal server communication. But if you do it on your home, if you have another laptop,
You can't capture packets in the lab, so it doesn't